For life and light, together we fight.
Fans of the Kingdom Hearts series have been waiting 13 years for a sequel to 2005's Kingdom Hearts 2. Well, the wait is over, the game is finally here and I just beat it. Kingdom Hearts 3 is the much anticipated conclusion to Sora's story and promises a satisfying resolution to the Darkseeker Xehonort Saga. Now, I've dabbled at the previous Kingdom Hearts titles as a young gamer, but I never completed any of the games. So, as the 12th game in the series, it's fair to say I was pretty intimidated by the prospect of jumping into the story at what is effectively the final entry point. The biggest questions I had on my mind were, would the game succeed in introducing beginners to the world, its characters, and its notoriously complex and convoluted plot? Would this hinder my enjoyment of the overall game? And would the game manage to walk that fine line of supporting new players while satisfying seasoned Kingdom Hearts fans at the same time? Having played the game for 30 plus hours, beaten the main campaign and had time to collect my thoughts, let's delve in and answer these questions along the way. Let's start with the game's main story. For newcomers to the series, Square Enix does try to shed a bit of light on the series' narrative and main characters so far through the optional Memories archive accessible through the title screen. This is comprised of 5 storybooks that try to explain Kingdom Hearts' complex storyline and its huge roster of characters, but sadly these expositions are not comprehensive enough to make even a modicum of sense, which leaves beginners feeling baffled and frequently scratching their heads at key points in the main storyline as characters interact and reference events from the previous games. There is even one scene in which the developers actually break the fourth wall and poke fun at their own overly complicated and oft-times confusing branching storylines and concepts.
Ven looks just like Roxas, or is it Roxas looks just like Ven? And now I have to explain all of that to him, which is in itself a crazy long story. And apparently everybody already knows everyone, and this is an insane amount to get memorized.
I suppose credit has to be given to Square Enix for at least having a sense of humour here and recognising the flaws in their own storytelling. Does this lack of knowledge and understanding hinder your enjoyment of the game and the stories on offer here though? Happily, the answer is no, it doesn't. It is saved mostly by the 7 Disney worlds available for exploration. Even if we are not hugely familiar with Sora and his own experiences, we can definitely relate and engage with the Disney storylines on offer here and are at least familiar with the key Disney characters presented and the worlds they inhabit. While some of these levels simply retell the main storylines from the movies, there are some unique stories written solely for Kingdom Hearts 3. These tended to be my favourite worlds because they offered something new and fresh. They included Toy Box from Toy Story 2, Monstropolis from Monsters Inc. and San Francisco from Big Hero 6. In fact, the Disney Pixar worlds looked incredible, like stepping into the movies themselves. Kingdom Hearts 3 is a gorgeous looking game and the Disney magic is definitely here. There are some amazingly beautiful locations to explore, from the golden hued Mount Olympus to the gorgeous frozen landscape of Arendelle. The Disney worlds look and sound great. The soundtrack for Kingdom Hearts 3 is beautiful and emotive. The songs and themes from the Disney worlds create a brilliant sense of nostalgia. If you don't own these titles in your Disney movie collection, Kingdom Hearts 3 will make you want to go out and buy them. Each world feels different and exciting because it is packed full of unique enemies, challenging boss fights, and gameplay sections that are so much fun to play. My favourites were definitely in Toy Box, where you get to pilot your own mech, and the huge naval battles in the Pirates of the Caribbean level, which seems to have been inspired heavily by Assassin's Creed Black Flag. For the most part, the animations and voice acting is good, though there were definitely some awkward and cringe-worthy moments moments, particularly in the Pirates of the Caribbean sections. But putting the fun Disney worlds aside, does the game succeed in providing a satisfactory conclusion to Sora's story? This game has, after all, been 13 years in the making, and seasoned Kingdom Hearts fans have been waiting a long time to see how the many disparate storylines would be resolved and what was to become of fan favourite characters like Aqua, Ventus, Terra, Roxas, Riku, Kairi and Axel, to name but a few. Happily, I can say that the game does a good job of resolving all of these storylines into a satisfying conclusion, and while the final fight does definitely drag on a bit, there are some very satisfying and emotional moments to enjoy. The main issue the story suffers from, though, is poor pacing. In a story campaign that takes 28 hours roughly to beat, for about 20 of those hours you are exploring Disney worlds, and only 8 hours are actually spent on the actual story of the Keyblade War, Sora and his companions, and much of this is told in the last 6 hours of the game. What this results in is much of the game feeling like unnecessary filler for seasoned Kingdom Hearts fans. The justification for this seems flimsy at best. Sora has lost the power of waking and must go on his own quest to rediscover this before being able to rescue Aqua from the Dark World and face off against Xehanort and Organization 13. But then, the way he gains this power is very anticlimactic and seems a bit too convenient. This leaves the ending feeling a bit rushed and forced. Perhaps this focus on Disney worlds and characters and away from Sora and his own companions is because Square Enix wanted to appeal to a wider audience and were concerned that newcomers to the series wouldn't be able to connect with Sora and his story. Perhaps there was even some pressure laid on Square Enix by their very powerful and influential Disney partner. Certainly, there has been a lot of criticism laid against the game for failing to include any Final Fantasy characters, except in some very obscure and minor references throughout. Now, while the story may not hit all the right notes and may have faltered with its pacing and direction, the levels were definitely a blast to play, due in large part to the incredibly fun and intuitive gameplay, easily the strongest and best part of Kingdom Hearts 3. Let's start with the combat. For the first time in a Kingdom Hearts game, Square Enix offers the ability to have up to 4 AI members in your team. Sora once again finds himself partnered with Donald and Goofy, a welcome return and reunion that many Kingdom Hearts fans were happy to see. Donald and Goofy are fixed teammates that join Sora throughout the entirety of the game. They play off of Sora's character brilliantly, not only in the camaraderie and fun interactions between the trio, but also in providing key support roles. Goofy the Knight with his sturdy shield, which can be used to defend the three, to ram into enemies, or as a means of escape by using the shield as a makeshift snowboard. Donald is the mage of the group, which suits his explosive personality perfectly. With each Disney world you explore, Sora gains a new member to the group, which includes some fun additions like Hercules, Rapunzel, Buzz and Woody, Sully and Mike, and Captain Jack Sparrow. These are just a few of the heroes on offer. As you fight enemies and build combos, Sora is then able to use special team attacks and special moves that look incredible and cause massive damage. My favourite was probably Sully and Mike's finishing move, which was just hilarious and added some great moments of levity to what can be tense and difficult fights. For Sora himself, he of course wields his trusty Keyblade and can equip up to 3 at any given time, which can be switched between freely. With each world that you save, Sora is rewarded with a new Keyblade. As you attack enemies and build up your hit counter, each Keyblade becomes charged until you can unleash a form change. Some even have more than 2 or 3 forms. These form changes do a great job of shaking up combat, keeping it feeling fresh and challenging. Some form changes focus on harder hitting melee attacks, others on ranged combat, and some provide area of effect elemental attacks. This means that you can be strategic with the choice and use of your Keyblades. Fighting a fire-based opponent, switch to the frozen Keyblade and attack using ice and snow elemental attacks. Each form then also has a super move, which makes you feel, in one word, badass. They look great too. The shot lock system is back, allowing you to lock onto multiple enemies using a focus bar and fire off 20 to 30 beams of light. This can be useful when taking on a lot of enemies at once. Another system useful for crowd control is the new attraction system based on famous Disneyland attractions, including Big Magic Mountain, Mad Teacups, Splash Run, Blaster Blaze, Pirate Ship, and Magic Carousel. These resulted in some pretty epic moments, especially when taking on big bosses. The Disney magic is definitely here. It can also be found in the Link system that allows you to summon some well-loved Disney heroes, including Wreck-It Ralph, Ariel, Stitch, and my favourite, the king of all summons, Simba. I spent most of my time when fighting with a huge smile on my face. There is so much eye candy in Kingdom Hearts 3, and the combat is so colourful, and there is so much going on that at first it can feel a little frenetic, but once you master the different options available to you, it quickly becomes both fun and challenging, especially when taking on some of the big bosses that seem to have layer upon layer of health and armor and some pretty devastating attacks. Kingdom Hearts 3 manages to walk a fine line between keeping each boss unique and challenging enough that when you beat the boss, it is a very satisfying moment. The only time I would say it failed in this was probably the very last boss fight against Xehonort, which employed the Dragon Ball method of boss fights, wherein you would have to beat the final boss a multitude of times, all the while putting up with his constant taunts and form changes. The final fight felt like it dragged on forever, much longer than was necessary anyway, and there was definitely some shouts and swear words thrown about when I fought him. But in the moment when you beat the game and come out the victor, you feel both exhausted and exhilarated all at the same time. Beating Kingdom Hearts 3 definitely felt like an achievement, and this is probably down to the difficulty spike in the final fight and the satisfying conclusion to what is an incredibly fun game. Very quickly, I want to talk about some of the side content in the game, because there is a lot and some of it was definitely hit and miss. I really enjoyed the minigame involving Remy from Ratatouille. I loved collecting ingredients and cooking dishes, trying to make excellent quality food, which could then be eaten to provide stat boost to my team for a limited period of time. I enjoyed some of the minigames and collectibles like the lucky emblems that encourage you to explore each world and look for these hidden symbols in strange locations. But the return of the gummy ship and the use of the gummy phone to play classic Kingdom minigames were definitely drags on the game's pacing and fun. I didn't really find these minigames fun or engaging, and apart from playing one, I pretty much skipped the rest. The gummy ship sections, which encouraged you to fly between worlds, collecting orbs, fighting mini bosses and crafting new ships, were just annoying and uninteresting for me. I found the gummy ship clunky and difficult to maneuver, and just found these sections dull and uninspired. I couldn't wait to get through them as quickly as possible so that I could get back to the main story and its interesting worlds and characters as quickly as possible. So overall, I would say that Kingdom Hearts 3 was a lot of fun to play. Its strengths lie in its interesting and beautiful locations, likeable cast of characters, and fun and challenging combat and boss fights, but it is hindered by its issues with its complex storyline and pacing, and some of its uninspired side missions and content. If I was to score each element of the game, I would give the gameplay an 8 out of 10, the story a 7 out of 10, and the visuals and soundtrack a 9 out of 10. Kingdom Hearts 3 is definitely worth buying. If you are a fan of the Kingdom Hearts series, you definitely owe it to yourself to buy this game. And if you are new to the series, it's well worth jumping in and checking it out. Kingdom Hearts 3 is as great a jumping in point as any. You won't regret it. So, all in all, I would give Kingdom Hearts 3 an 8.5 out of 10. I really enjoyed my own experience playing the game and would absolutely recommend it to others. So, have you played Kingdom Hearts 3? What did you think of the game and what score would you award it? Let me know in the comment section below. Please like, share and subscribe for more. Anyway, have a great week everyone, take care, and as always, happy gaming.